Hey there. This video will be the second in a series where I go over and give my thoughts on the job changes for Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker expansion. If you'd like to see the previous video about Dark Knight, click the card in the top right corner of the screen. In this video, I'll be going over the first non-tank I ever leveled in Final Fantasy XIV way back in patch 3.4, Summoner. I'll be using the same viability versus satisfaction metrics as in my last video, as I still feel it's important to differentiate between how a job performs in content versus how it feels to play the job in that content. Summoner got a massive overhaul to its kit and playstyle in Endwalker, resembling almost nothing of its former self, and I for one could not be happier. For the first time since Heavensward, I'm enjoying playing a ranged magic damage dealer, and for the first time ever, playing Summoner actually feels like I'm playing as a Summoner in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, you may have noticed that I didn't refer to Summoner as a caster earlier, and that was deliberate. This iteration of Summoner spends barely any time casting at all at level 90. But before we get into that, let's quickly go over the changes to the job. To start out, all of your dots are gone, and your pets have been replaced with the ability to actually summon Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda for massive, flashy, eye-burning AoEs, after which you gain access to elemental attacks for a set duration, each coupled with a number of charges, based on which of the primals you summoned. Ifrit gives Ruby Right, which has 2 charges, and is one of the only moves you have to cast, and a gap closer combo that is sure to give people who progged E6S some serious flashbacks. Titan grants 4 charges of Topaz Right and Mountain Buster as an off-global cooldown that can be used after each use of Topaz Right. Think Gunbreaker's continuation. Finally, we have Garuda, who grants 4 uses of Emerald Right, which is super fast, and a single cast of Slipstream. Each of these has an AoE variant as well, so you don't have to change up what you're doing between single target and AoE packs. Bahamut and Phoenix are still here as well. Each will augment your Ruin spell and Try Disaster to be an instant cast spell that comes with some killer off-global cooldowns, Death Flare and Akmorn for Bahamut, and Rekindle and Revelation for Phoenix. Along with those, Summoner received some personal mitigation in the form of the Radiant Aegis, which has 2 charges on a 60-second cooldown and grants a shield equal to 20% of your maximum HP for 30 seconds, and Searing Light, a raid-wide 3% damage buff that lasts a whopping 30 seconds, both of which can only be used when your carbuncle is out, meaning that it cannot be used when either Bahamut or Phoenix are summoned, or during the summon attack of Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda. These moves also originate from the carbuncle, so make sure your little friend stays nearby. The last change worth mentioning is how Ether Flow works. Energy Drain and Energy Siphon grant 1 use of the instant cast Ruin 4 and 2 Ether Flow stacks, allowing the use of Fester or Pain Flare, with Ruin 4 being the only one of those abilities that is on the global cooldown. Now, we have all that covered, let's talk about endgame viability. Summoner's damage isn't the highest, especially compared to the greedy damage monster that is Black Mage, as a trade-off for being more mobile is lower potency, and its ability to fix mistakes via raising a player isn't as good as Red Mage's. For those reasons, Summoner has the lowest pick rate for Savage Raids out of the 3 ranged magic damage jobs, with Red Mage being the highest for its utility. Still, Summoner is perfectly capable of clearing the content if the party they're in can execute the mechanics correctly. Static groups do tend to prefer the safety net offered by Red Mage for prog and the glass cannon damage output of Black Mage for farm, but that doesn't mean Summoner cannot perform. The mobility of Summoner, coupled with the flexibility of its 3 primary summons, gives the player a fairly unique level of freedom with how it executes its rotation outside of the Bahamut and Phoenix phases. Although Summoner is possibly the most punishing job to die on, as doing so will throw off your rhythm for a large chunk of the fight, if not all of it. I suppose their mobility makes it a bit easier to maneuver for mechanics, but any summoner player should be careful where they step and not get lost in the massive array of particles they throw at the boss. All of this is also true of extreme trials, at least when it comes to FFLog's reporting. I'll save satisfaction for now and jump right into casual viability. In dungeons, Summoner is excellent. Its unique ability to perform every phase of its rotation and use every summon on large pulls and single bosses really shines here. Summoner never has to stop its constant barrage of icons to perform a limited AoE rotation and continues to dish out respectable damage in the process. Its burst really shines as it's able to chunk down entire groups of dungeon mobs at the push of a button. And even though it's only casual content, it is really nice to see all those big numbers. Now, let's talk satisfaction. Summoner is so much fun. Yes, it is easy to play, and the skill ceiling for Summoner isn't very high, which might turn off some players. But something about finally getting to actually summon feels so good. I've done dozens of Zodiark EX runs on Summoner and never even came close to losing the enjoyment I felt the first time I summoned one of those primals to the field. I haven't had this much fun on Summoner since Heavensward, when using Death Flare in dungeons or PvP would damn near kill everything caught in its blast radius. This iteration of Summoner feels so much like that, but more of it, as each of your 5 summons come coupled with a massive attack that showers the field in pretty lights and sounds. It scratches some primal part of my brain, pun intended. In conclusion, I'm excited to see where the devs decide to take Summoner from here. Yes, I do agree that the kit is a little bare bones, but with how the kit works, there's so much that can be done to upgrade it. We could get more or different primals to summon. Maybe Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda will upgrade to Leviathan, Ramu, and Shiva. Who knows? There's so much potential in Summoner that it just makes me happy. I know that not everyone is happy with how Summoner plays right now. Some of you miss the old Summoner, and as a Dark Knight main, I sympathize. But for everyone who wanted the feeling of playing a classic Final Fantasy Summoner instead of a generic dot upkeep class a la Affliction Warlock in World of Warcraft, this is it. This is the Summoner we deserved from the beginning, and I hope it only leans more into that fantasy. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun writing this one, especially after how much of a downer my Dark Knight video was. I really can't say enough how fun New Summoner is and how excited I am to see what the dev team does with it in the future. But let me know in the comments how you feel about Summoner, or your main/favorite job in Endwalker. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and even subscribe. It would really help out the channel and it would mean a lot to me. I will have another one of these out sometime soon. I'm thinking either Warrior or Machinist. Go ahead and tell me which one you'd rather see. And in the meantime, please look forward to it.